suite for 80 people with a beautiful waterfront view. Pre-wedding teas, parties and breakfasts also available. Mumtaz Leads. Call 0113 242 4211.
Gems and jewels. Wise sayings, interesting events, and moral lessons from Islamic history. In short,
Luqman said to his son, "My son, if you have doubts about death, then do not sleep. For as you sleep, so too will you die. And if you have doubts in the resurrection, then do not wake up from your sleep. For as you wake up from your sleep, so too will you be resurrected after you die."
Broadcasting 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This is Salam Radio.
Assalamu alaikum. This is your very own Dr. Shabina Asad Qayyum on the Body Health and Mind Show on Salam Radio 106.2 FM. As you know, we always have the show that takes place on a Wednesday in the evening. It's an absolute pleasure to be here, although I must say that I do my little bit of rushing around before I come, which is normal, being a mum as well. I'm a local GP for those of you that don't know me, and I work in a busy inner city practice in Peterborough, and I try to bring on guests on the show who take out their very valuable time to be here to give you the best updates and the best quality information in the latest news that involves the medical world. So, without further ado, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the topic that we're going to have this week, as well as introducing my wonderful guest, who's a local guest, by the way, and I'm sure that many of you who will see him will recognize him as well if you've had your dealings with the hospital. And it's an absolute pleasure to have him on here because he's had a full day at work and he's taken out his time to be here. So we're going to be speaking a little bit about organ transplantation and what it is, how the laws govern the country regarding organ transplantation, and also just a little bit of the ins and outs, as well as any questions or anything that you want to ask. But let me introduce my guest. Now, this week's guest is Dr. Mohammed Asfar Sharafat. He's a consultant intensivist, an anaesthetist, and he's also the clinical lead for organ donation at the North West Anglia NHS Trust. And I'm going to give you his own words. So he says, "I've been a consultant intensivist since 2013. I was trained in Yorkshire. I have taken a role as the clinical lead for organ donation, North West Anglia NHS Trust in 2017. And the issues I've seen over the years as an intensivist is that we deal with organ failures every day in intensive care, but there are situations where only and better options to deal with organ failure is an organ transplant, which will give a significant better quality of life to the patient. And the only way it works is if there are enough donors who will help others. To help and support this process, I've taken this role at our trust, and the last 2 years were challenging, but we made significant progress and we will continue to work on it." Dr. Mohammed Asfar Sharafat, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Thank you very much for joining me, Dr. Sharafat, because your title in itself, a consultant intensivist. Now, I've had my background in hospital. Apart from A&E, I never know any other speciality to be as busy and intense, you're an intensivist, as yours. What made you want to pick this particular profession?
I think intensivist is one of the new speciality which developed, I think, over the last 5 to 10 years.
Okay.
It is basically what happened is when we have patients who are sick in ICU, we need a bit of a background of individuals who basically can look after the patient from the medicine point of view. They have basically specific skill sets which can help in intensive care.
Yeah.
As usual, I'm not going to get in details of that, but again, is the patients that who need some lot of organ support and they need to be on the ventilators, and they basically dealt with intensivist in our NHS setup. So basically you have to have a knowledge of medicine, you have to have knowledge of anesthetics, you have a knowledge of emergency medicine, and it's pretty good and quite intense, but it's quite rewarding if you really enjoy doing it, and I frankly speaking love my job. It is a tough job. It has situations when we have to make difficult decisions, but it also good when we see our patients getting better. And when we get involved, it always what we call critical care unit. Things are very critical, and we deal with this on a daily basis, and we wish we can do better, but it's a bit of a challenging specialty.
I can imagine. Now, for our guests at home who are listening to us or wherever they are, it's also important to realise that it is your consultant anaesthetist or the doctors within the anaesthetic speciality who look after patients on intensive care, isn't it? You're in charge of ICU, aren't you?
Yeah, I think, as I said, that last 5-10 years we have this whole specialty have groomed up now. So we have doctors who are specialists in ED medicine, who are doctors and specialists in kidney or nephrologists who are becoming intensivists. So I think intensive care is getting open to a lot of specialty, and it's a mixed bunch of group. But basically, previously, and we still have the majority done by anaesthetists who are intensivists, who have extra training to be an intensivist.
Well, knowing you from a personal perspective as well, I know how rigorous your training was in the north of England. Listening to a lot of the accounts that you've shared with us, it's very humbling actually to have, I would say, within the United Kingdom, specialists such as yourself who take so much in the way of incentive in looking after their patients. Because if you think about it, putting somebody to sleep also for an operation isn't easy, and then waking them up out of it, I would be quite intimidated, even being a clinician, going into anaesthesia. Would you like to describe a day in the life of an anaesthetist or an intensivist?
I think they're two different things. So a day of an intensivist start differently, and obviously because the nature of the intensity, it is quite a consultant-led service. So if you have somebody in critical care, the consultants are more hands-on, and they're always involved in everything. Even out of hours, our consultant intensivists are in the hospitals dealing with the situation, and if any doubt, all of us are in the hospital to address the issues. With anaesthetist lives are also, again, is a bit different. So depending on the specialty, so the anaesthetist will be working with the different specialty surgeons. They have different interests. Some work with the vascular surgeons, some with the ENT surgeons, some with the general surgeons. And it's pretty nice to see. And there's always a bit of a what I would say is the bonding between the anaesthetist and the surgeon. They understand how they work. They pick up different things. The nature of the cases are different between them, and sometimes the surgeon quite relies on the anaesthetist how things are. If they're taking a high risk patient to theatre, they will rely on anaesthetist. So it's really funny that to understand, to say, if you see an anaesthetist, previously a lot of people think they're not even doctors, and I have heard that you're a doctor or you're an anaesthetist, but it's just, again, it's a subspecialty. People don't know about it. Is as long as somebody become a cardiologist or somebody become a surgeon, the same amount of training, and there are the people who will be there all the time with you. We make sure that we are looking after you. You are fine. By the time you recover, we want you to be comfortable when you wake up, and everything is in order. And if something which is not in order, we want to fix it. So for somebody who's listening to me and they think they're having anesthetic, don't worry. We will be there all the time from the start till the end, and make sure you're comfortable and you go home back safely.
That's exactly what I was going to say, and it's rather a miracle. And like I said, as a GP or as somebody who has a clinical background, I would never imagine, because of the fact that I would feel so scared of becoming an anaesthetist, simply because of the fact that you have to be spot on with your knowledge encompassing this speciality. So what you do is admirable, Dr. Sharafat, it really is. Now, you've spoken a little bit about this. Let's go on to the main topic that we want to talk about today, and that it is that of organ transplantation. Would you like to introduce the whole concept and what it is, what it entails to our listenership, and why this week and next week is particularly very important to us? Thank you.
Fine. So the reason for coming on the show is organ donation. Now, I think it's a very sensitive topic. I don't think this has been discussed openly, and the reason I choose Islam Radio is the fact I think we, as an organization lead, I have to deal with the national services, or especially NHSBT, which is basically blood transfusion and organ transplant services. So we always have data how things are done and which community's been having problems, how the organs been needed and transplant is required. So the problem we're facing, I'm being honest with the start of this discussion, I do not want to get a religious part of this discussion. This is something who listeners have to discuss among themselves
Sure.
to see which religion they follow and what are the values of that. The main thing is that we see patients coming to us who have organ failures, and we also, on the other hand, we see patients who are not going to survive and they can be potential organ donors. So we have seen both part of the things. And how does it feel to donate your organs? And that is the discussion. This topic's never discussed. People don't feel comfortable. Some families don't feel comfortable, which is very honest, and we understand why they don't feel. So what we would like to say is, if you need an organ, would you accept an organ? If you're thinking, yes, I will have an organ, unfortunately, if somebody having a renal failure and needs a kidney transplant and need a kidney, if there's a kidney available, would you take it? If you do, the question comes, would you donate?
Yeah.
So I think it's both way. And if you say you don't accept any organs and if you do not want to donate, fine. But it's just to think about it, because there are extreme amount of patients out there who needs transplants and their life will completely change. And the other reason which Shabina have mentioned, that next week is coming an organ donation week, 3rd of September to 9th of September.
Okay.
We're having a stall in Peterborough City Hospital. We're having a stall in Serpentine Green on 6th, which is Friday.
Yeah.
So what we really want is to people come and talk to us about it. And the major thing which most of people may be aware about it, the law is changing in 2020 in March.
Right.
Which is going to be Kyria Max law, which is the opt-out what happened in Wales. So anybody who will be an organ donor unless you opt out. And the concern I have, the reason I like to convey on the message to everybody, think that, just want to opt out. Just think, what are you opting out? This is something we have to think about it as a community and as individuals. What is the issue? It's not even the fact that if you're on organ donation register, if your family declined on the day that we do not want to donate, that will not happen. So I think this is something to talk among yourself, among your family, because life can change very rapidly.
Yes.
Either you can be donor, either you can be recipient. Just think. I'm not here to say do this. I'm just here to give the information.
Of course.
So this is a big week coming up next week. Please look into it. Please come down to, if you want to come to Peterborough City Hospital, to the atrium, we have a stall there, a lot of discussion, a lot of information. And if you want to come to Serpentine Green on the 6th, which will be near Tesco's, we will be having a stall there. Please come and talk to us and see what it's all about.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's been very succinctly put. So if we're able to repeat, so as of 2020, Dr. Sharafat has actually said that the law will change, as it has in Wales, in which you will automatically be put on the organ donation register, okay? And in your lifetime, you can choose to opt out. However, it's very important to think about what is it that you're opting out of. One of the main points that he has suggested is that at the time of your death is obviously inevitable. We believe in such as Muslims, that at the time of your death, even if your next of kin states that they don't want your organs to be donated, there is no say in that matter. In other words, there are no overriding decisions from your next of kin to have a say in that matter. But your next of kin, hang on, Dr. Sharafat, correct me, please.
Yeah. Basically, you have a say. So we are not saying that we are anybody who is, basically the law changes. So they will be, as a register, you're not supposed to be like assigned in. Everybody is in now. After that, you automatically a donor unless you opt out.
Okay.
So that is, you don't need to be registered. Once the law comes in, you are a potential
automatically
donor.
So am I right in saying that if your next of, say you die,
Yeah.
can your next of kin say that they don't want your organs to be donated?
Yeah, we cannot override. Next of kin have the right, because it's a very sensitive thing, and we do not want to say that, because the thing is this, it's the feeling everybody have to understand. You helping an other, but on the other hand, we respect the family who going through this, and we do not
Trauma.
want to override everything. So if the next of kin say no, we
You are
will
not
respect
going
that.
So that's okay. That's very useful. Oh my goodness, it would have spelled disaster had I said otherwise, because the next of kin would have had no power, and I can see some complaints coming in, but we've rectified that now. So Dr. Sharafat has basically said that if next of kin, and if you weren't aware of this and all of a sudden, I'm assuming that the family of the deceased will be approached and said, well, actually, you are automatically on the organ donation register. We are thinking of, do we have your consent? And they will take it from there. It's obviously going to follow a process. Is that correct?
Yeah, so what we recommending, how the Wales work is either you put yourself that you're not opting out, or you give the power to somebody else in your family that, if it happens, you have the right to say you can take the organs. Or the fact is this, basically the authority of the family stays there, and we will approach the family, and this is what we want is if somebody do not want to opt out, talk among your family. The problem is this, if you don't talk among your family, and is the problem if this happens and the family says no because it's never been discussed. And this is the whole idea that yes, people are aware about the law, but obviously these matters never get discussed within the family. If it been discussed that God forbid something happened like this, what is the family opinions are? And if the family says no, we do not feel comfortable and we don't want to talk about it, that's fine. But if they want to talk about it, I think because this question will be asked more often from 2020 as compared to now when you are not on the register, we will ask the question. If you say no, we will say respect that.
Yeah.
But if you are on the register, we'd say there's the patient wishes, and we want to respect the patient wishes that he or she wants it. But it's still, even now, they have the right that the next two can say no. We have to respect that.
I understand. Now, I'd like to ask you, will the law also extend to children?
Okay, so as I said, the Max and Kira law, which is coming in, they named this law. It is about a young girl who have donated the heart to this young boy.
Okay.
So that's why we have given the name of Max and Kira law, and that is so again, options again. As I said, once we put the rule of opt out is the thing, end of the day, the discussion will happen. And the question is, would the parents will allow? If they say no, I don't think so. Anybody in any of the transplant service or donation service can force it. All we want to discuss, all we want to make people aware. And the best way I look at it, do not look at of donating the organ. Think about if you're on the other receiving end. So if your loved one is receiving for an organ, waiting for an organ to come, and the concern that I have and which everybody have in the whole system at this minute is because every organ have to genetically have to be matched. So if a donor is from an Asian background, the chances of matching would be much higher in the same community. So and there are significant amount of Asian patients who are waiting for an organ. If there are no donors, the problem is the matching never works, and the organ recipient does not match with the organ. So that is quite a significant concern. And so there's a extra work being happening in the community, especially again the Asian community, the black Asian community, the Indian community. Everybody's working. So what the whole idea of me here today? Let's talk.
Yeah.
I'm not saying yes, say yes, don't say yes, but please talk, please think.
It is
discuss.
worth thinking about. It definitely is, because let's just be open about this, Dr. Sharafat. It's a taboo subject within the Muslim community. We know that it is. However, opening the doors to those possibilities, and obviously not stating that people or the community should go against what their religious beliefs are, but to open up their minds to the possibilities. And there are many things that one can be open to in terms of donating without having to cause much detriment as well. For the knowledge of our listenership, and obviously a lot of them are non-medical, would you be able to give them an idea on those organs that can be donated whilst a person is alive?
So I think live donation is a completely different situation. Now, because you have a live person want to donate an organ, that's very quite common with the kidneys. Patients do give kidneys to their loved ones, but because there's two life at risk, the person who's donating the kidney have the risk what will happen to him or her. the person who's receiving it. So I think that becomes a difficult discussion for this today, because the organ donation does not look at that part. It's just if the family members among themselves want to do it, that's fine. But it's have the element of consent, the element of transplant surgeon agreeing to the decision, would the other person will be safe after donating the kidney. So that is one of the things quite common.
Yeah.
I don't see any other organs can be donated, like if you're talking about pancreas, if you're talking about liver. There are patients are donating liver also in the other country like India. They're having transplants going on for that, so people are donating. So there's quite a different discussion. So I would say a transplant surgeon would be a better discussion for this rather than me.
Sure.
From my point of view is the organ donation, or basically we're looking at donation after death or after the brainstem death. So this is the main topic from the NHSBT and from the normal TGH and teaching hospitals at the minute.
Sure.
But when it's come to individual family members or friends talking about donating the live person to the live person, that's a completely different discussion.
Well, I think that was really informative as well. And just if you've joined us now, you're on the Body Health and Mind Show on Salam Radio 106.2 FM. I have with me consultant intensivist and anaesthetist Dr. Mohammed Asfar Sharafat, who is a consultant anaesthetist and intensivist at the NHS North West Anglia Foundation Trust. The topic of discussion today is organ transplantation, and next week from the 3rd of September to the 9th of September is Organ Transplant Week and Organ Donation Week. And it's important to have this discussion just to think about the options available and to have a discussion about opening our minds to the concept of organ transplantation. And Dr. Sharafat has said, from a religious perspective, it's always important to consult your scholar. But just if you have questions to ask and want to know a little bit more about it, there'll be stalls at Hampton Hargate, Serpentine Green, and also at Queensgate.
No, at the 6th of September is Serpentine Green, and 4th is in the PCH, Peterborough City Hospital atrium.
Peterborough City Hospital, the atrium on the 4th. So please do make an effort to attend. In fact, I will also come along, because I think that where we set a precedent and we give out this information, it's very important. We've had quite a few people who've joined in actually to this discussion. So we've had Mr. Amjad Iqbal, Sadia Suleiman, Sobia Naveed, Mr. Mohammed Jamil, and Mr. Asad Qayyum, who has said, fantastic show, very informative. You know, I do think I know Mr. Asad Qayyum from somewhere. So thank you very much for all of your positive and encouraging comments. Now, we've spoken a little bit about, what type of organs can be donated. Now, can organs actually, do those big operations take place here within Peterborough City Hospital?
Okay, so it's again, we will try to keep it in a very small summary of it. So what happened that organ can be donated in two ways. Organs can be donated after the death. We have a window of 3 to 4 hours when the organs can be retrieved.
Right.
So this is something which has happened over the years that have changed. That a significant amount, which is not thought about before, that we say the organs can be, especially kidneys, have a very good recipient rate and response. That patient have received a kidney after the donor died, which is called a DCD donation, donation after cardiovascular death. That kidney have did well, and the patient who have received it have a good quality of life after that. And then we have a situation when we have a patient, we make sure the patient have a brain stem death, where the patient been shown by different testing to make sure the patient have the brain stem is dead, so you cannot survive without your brain. So that's classified as a death. Now this is again a discussion, which is again, there was a very good debate between the scholars, and I think a couple of years ago in Birmingham, about what is death. Is the heart is beating, is the patient is dead or alive? The discussion is all been accepted. If the brainstem is not working, you cannot live. Because you can't breathe.
Sure.
And then the organ can be retrieved while the heart is beating, and then because the patient has been certified dead because of the brainstem not functioning. So the organs can be retrieved in different fashion. Then the organs can be matched. So it's quite a significant process. About takes 2 to 2 days sometimes to make sure that we have recipients. there's a big list of, so the whole centres, like we're having Edinburgh, which is the main teaching hospital, will deal with that. We've got Birmingham, which deals with that. You've got Leeds, which deals with that. So all these centres are interlinked in a service.
Yeah.
So as soon as the organ been declared and their patient have given the consent, or the family, they start matching the organs, and we'll find where the recipient is and where they will benefit from it.
Sure. Have you found yourself in conversation? Is that your sole responsibility, or is it the surgeon's responsibility to have that conversation with next of kin?
So how it works as an intensivist, the most organ donation leads in the countries are normally intensivists, because most of us, as I said, we do have a difficult decisions in our work when we have to break these bad news to the family, and we have to give us a significant amount of credit. We have the specialist nurses who are specialized in this process.
Sure.
So they work throughout. They will come in. They're just not there for a purpose of dealing with how this process works, but they're extremely supportive to family. They are the one normally have these discussions. They have special training when dealing with this. We support them. So
Yeah.
they run the whole process while we lead it in the hospital, because it's not necessary that I'm always around, but
Yeah.
there's always somebody who will be supporting. So some of my colleagues need support that they are going to discuss, but there is a whole process. If we know that they have any potential, they will come and join us when they do the discussion with the family.
Yeah.
But frankly speaking, they're not going to intervene unless they think it's safe. So
Right.
otherwise they will just sit back and listen to the whole situation, and they will support it to the family.
Right. Well, what would we do without our nurses? The fact of the matter is that they play a wonderful role within our NHS. I'm always talking about the fact that our NHS is a blessing, and we need to respect it and treat it properly. And the fact that it's an institute in itself, unique throughout the whole world. We now have about 10 seconds to go to the break. Please join us for when we return, where we have Dr. Asfar Sharafat, and we will carry on our talk on organ transplantation. So hopefully, inshallah, see you after the break.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
Where can you get high quality and low prices? Amar Food Store and Halal Meat in Lincoln Road, Triangle is the place to go. Pay us a visit and take advantage of our special offers and great range of products on groceries, vegetables, fruits and halal meat. Also send money to Pakistan absolutely free. We have all top brands at special offers, offer free customer parking and provide a free local delivery service. Amar Food Store and Halal Meat, 613B Lincoln Road, Peterborough. Call us on 01733 687 374. High in quality, low in prices.
Peterborough just got a whole lot tastier. Five Lads Flame Grilled Peri Peri Chicken is now open. Bring your family and friends to Peterborough's first HMC meat selling restaurant. We are experts in grilled chicken, lamb chops and gourmet lamb and beef burgers. Our healthy options include fresh salads and fresh grilled vegetables. Fresh, clean and healthy grilled food with 4 different flavours. Lemon and herb, medium, hot and extra hot. 5-star hygiene rating. Eat in, order and collect, or order for delivery on Deliveroo. Follow 5 Lads Peterborough on Facebook and Instagram 5 Lads. 15 Cowgate, Peterborough, PE1 1LZ. Call 01733 56 22 87. Open 7 days a week, 12 to 11 p.m.
Insure 24/7 is a community-based insurance brokerage offering competitive premiums and a great service. Taxis, properties and businesses, we cover them all. Call us on 01733 856699 or visit our new office at 304 Lincoln Road. Insure 24/7. We've got you covered. Insure 24/7 is authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority.
There's a million choices available for dining out in Leeds.
But if you want something special, there's only one name to remember.
Mumtaz Leeds.
Relax in our newly refurbished Riverside restaurant.
Enjoy exquisite home cooking from our brand new menu. Upgrade to the Mumtaz Leeds experience.
And the price? Well, we're better value than ever before.
Mumtaz Leeds, Chadwick Street, Leeds, LS10 1PJ. Call 0113 242 4211.
Free car parking available.
Gems and jewels. Wise sayings, interesting events, and moral lessons from Islamic history. The Bedouin and Ibn Uyayna.
It has been related that a Bedouin spent a long time in the company of Sufyan ibn Uyayna, listening to the ahadith that he related. When the Bedouin decided to return to his home country, Sufyan asked, "O Bedouin, what did you like most from my ahadith?" He said, 3 ahadith only. First, the hadith of Aisha radiyallahu anha from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he liked sweets and honey. The second is the hadith wherein he said that if dinner is served and the prayer has commenced, then begin with dinner. And the third is the hadith of Aisha radiyallahu anha that it is not from righteousness to fast while one is on a journey.
Peterborough's community radio station, Salam Radio, 106.2 FM.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the Body Health and Mind Show on Salam Radio 106.2 FM. And if you've tuned in, you'll realize that we actually have a Facebook Live video. We also do YouTube Live, we do Twitter Live. So there's a lot of choice in how you can listen to us. And obviously we're on your FM wavelength as well. And we've also got the Salam Radio app. So if you have any problems with listening to us, say on Facebook Live, then download the Salam Radio app and it would be a wonderful way for you to listen to us and listen to the Body Health and Mind Show. Now, before going on, I do realise that I was supposed to give a shout out. I was supposed to give a shout out to, first of all those wonderful children who have secured their GCSE results here in Peterborough. Well done to all of you. You're doing absolutely fantastic. Hope you've enjoyed the summer holidays and you haven't been too stressed and you've had the outcome that you deserve. But now you all deserve to relax because I'm sure that you've all worked extremely hard. Likewise to those children who've received their A-level results and are now going on to the next stage of their life, whatever that may be. Congratulations to all of you. I would love to give a shout out to Sister Adila Akhtar, who watches my show avidly, and she's a wonderful sister, always appreciating, encouraging me, and that's what I absolutely love. And her children, her wonderful daughters, who hopefully will be listening on this show and who I've met in person. Assalamu alaikum to you, your wonderful children. One is very, very brave because she hurt her foot a while back and hopefully she will be on the mend, but I really do want to give those shout outs to all of you. So Jazakallah khair for listening, and welcome back to our show where we have our guest who is a consultant intensivist and anaesthetist, the clinical lead for organ donation for the North West Anglia NHS Trust, Dr. Mohammed Asfar Sharafat. I hope you're enjoying the show.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
No, we're very, very appreciative during your busy schedule to have come and joined us. And one thing that I would like to ask is, we've been talking a little bit about the break about types of organs, and we were speaking about the fact that there are those tissue donations, which is obviously bone marrow for cancer. Blood is obviously another form of donation as well, and stem cell donation, which I've done a bit of work in through DKMS, which was the charity that we've worked from, in which you can give stem cells to help if you find a match for somebody who has a particular type of blood cancer. Now, organs, when we talk about them, we talk about the heart, we talk about the kidney, the lungs even as well. It's very important, we were talking in the break, to have that conversation. And whilst there have been various fatwas, and we won't talk much about the religious aspect because people have different beliefs, but it's very important to realize that whilst you're receiving a donation, it's a very personal conversation to think about whether you would be ready to actually give an organ away, and part of the religious aspect is that to save a life is as if you were to save the whole of mankind as well. What I wanted to ask you, Dr. Sharafat, is the fact that when we look at the organ transplant waiting list, do you know of any sort of time that people are waiting for an organ transplant? Because Adam Brooks is a centre, isn't it, for organ transplantation? Do you know a little bit about the process that you could share with our listeners, and how, as a Muslim or Asian community, South Asian community, we are slightly disadvantaged with our ethnicity in that regard?
I think what happened is basically once a patient been identified for any organ failure, which is becoming chronic. So like, for example, chronic renal failure, patients needing dialysis, and they go on register for transplant. So again, this is a decision by the treating physician who thinks this patient will benefit from an organ. Age is the factor. The young patients, if they're having a significant amount of dialysis, if they have a transplant, obviously their quality of life changes. Young children with heart diseases who will benefit from a transplant, from a heart transplant, obviously their life completely changes. Lung transplant with chronic lung conditions, which again, so I think what happened, they have a scoring system, they have a whole a full research going on by NHSBT, they and the transplant service by BTS. They will have the numbers, they will go around, and I think what happened is you got a local service and you got a national service. So how once a organ they understand which patients are on the waiting list, they have the priority who needs first. Also depending how the organs are, so if the donors are of what age, what will be the recipient would benefit. If the recipient is of 70-year-old will benefit from it, obviously then we have to discuss. So again, it's a very much of a surgical decision based on the fact that how we or she will benefit from it. So let's say a donor which is of a age of 65 or 70, you will not transplant into a young recipient. You will find a recipient. So again, it's a whole system. Again, it's a whole network out there. It's so complex that somebody was trying to ask the question, because as an intensivist, we always have this issue or question been asked how long the process is. And I can understand when the family is asking the question and they sometimes have to wait up to 48 hours to understand what was happening, why the process not began. It's very, very difficult to understand that, because in the background there's so much is going on, and before we agree to retrieve those organs, because as soon as the organs are retrieved, they need to go quickly to the site where it need to be transplanted, and the time from that is very, very crucial. And even the whole team are always ready. The organ is retrieved by the transplant surgeon themselves. They have a team comes in, they will take across to whichever the recipient is. They get a transplant as soon as possible. So the whole process is quite complex, but for the fact that is to be discussed, if anybody will have that to experience it, or if anybody already have experienced this, they understand. Obviously we don't tell this process what's happening in the background, but this is if any delay, and if anybody experiences, I can on the radio now can apologize, but it's a lot of work is going on in the background to make sure if somebody is donating, somebody get a real benefit out of it. And we take all the precaution, we make sure everything is right, and that takes time.
Okay, well, very well put, and it sort of gives us a bit of an outline on what the process entails and what's happening in the background. Now, I've got a few comments over here. We have Mr. Munir Ahmed. Salam. I may have missed as I joined in late. You may have covered this. If you haven't, then is there any information on Islam and giving and receiving organs donations? As always, a very informative radio show. Jazakallah khair, brother. Comment?
Okay.
We were saying that we were going to avoid this, but obviously it comes up, doesn't it?
I think there's a lot been debates going on. There are a lot of material available. Now the question is, if there's a material, will you accept it? That's the question.
Yeah.
So because of the religious aspect of it, there are scholars who are very pro organ donations, and there are scholars who would say no to it. Now, if I say that scholars say yes, but maybe the scholar that you follow will say no to it. So the question is about not yes or no. The question is, if you think this is something that you think is the right thing to do, you should be discussing this with the scholars that you follow and the family, that what do you think, would this will benefit somebody, would it benefit our family, because you don't know which end you can be. Either you can be a donor or a recipient. But just to talk about it and talk to the scholars that you talk to and discuss it, and let's say what they say.
Absolutely. And this is, I mean, taking on this role as a Muslim consultant and a clinician, I guess you can see both aspects of the implication of the organ donation. It's good to highlight the benefits of it as well. And in terms of opening those inroads to have those conversations, I know that you're very open to that as well. If people wanted to have a conversation from our religious institutes, I'm sure that you will be very happy. So any of you that have connections with the mosque and would like Dr. Sharafat to give a little bit more information, probably within the mosque setting, and our mosques are so open and so warm and welcoming to these discussions, I'm sure that you would be encouraged to do that, and certainly I would support you with that as well. We have Sister Dila Akhtar, who I gave a shout out to. MashaAllah, lovely show. Jazakallah for the shout out. Made my daughter's day. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you a lot of happiness and success. Ameen. Jazakallah khair. Sister Adila, it was an absolute pleasure. And just the fact that, moving on, we've got a few questions that have come up. I'm going to go with the shorter questions that probably will have a shorter answer. And I was asked earlier on by a sister, is it possible to donate your corneas while you are alive?
I don't think so. That would be possible. That would be difficult. Obviously, you need your vision. So cornea would be very difficult, I would say.
Yes.
Yeah.
It would be actually pertinent to bring in at this time that Dr. Abdul Sattar Eidi, after his death, donated his corneas, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I want to ask a question. Again, is the lifespan or the time that we have by transferring the corneas, it's again a couple of hours, isn't it, after death?
Yeah, I think some tissues, it depends how vascular the tissue is. So let's say the kidneys, as I said, and the organs of the cornea, they could sustain even after the blood supply have been compromised, where organs like heart or lungs are very much, as soon as the supply has been cut off, it's very, very difficult. So again, as I said, this is very much of a transplant surgeon decision and discussions, and this is the whole, as I said, there's so many things goes into it. So if anybody give a consent for donation, we are not just looking, I think it's just something to understand, we're not looking at the patient that we're treating, we're also looking at the fact that these organs have to be in a good state for the person receiving it. So some patients we not even see, but we know that the organs have, and the surgeon's not just retrieving the organs for the fact that I'm retrieving it, but she's thinking that whoever gets the organ will get benefit from it.
Yeah. I have a question here from a brother. I have a distant relative who is currently admitted in Addenbrooke's and is waiting a liver transplant. They've twice had hope that they would have a transplant that would be given to them. Unfortunately, at the last minute, it was given to something else. Can that happen?
Okay, as I said earlier, so if anybody receiving end, they would start matching. As soon as that's matching, they have to make a judgment call or a clinical decision, which these guys are expert at, would make a call, say who will benefit better. So obviously he or she may be at the receiving end, and there must be other recipients who are waiting for it, and the last minute they made a decision based on the state of the tissue who will benefit better. And as I said, there's a lot of factors are there, age factors, comorbidities the patient had, the donor, how much comorbidities that patient had, a lot of things. There are like runs of tests been done on tissues, the bloods, to make sure the right recipient gets it, because the last thing we want that the body rejecting the organ. Okay. And that is the thing. So probably they made the call that he or she may not benefit from this one.
Okay, I think that's useful. Just for my knowledge, if they were to find a donor, say in Glasgow, how would they get that organ quick enough to, say, Peterborough? Is it possible?
Yeah. So as I said, we have a whole, what happens, again, this is again a bit more technical. So as soon as you have a donor, locally they try to look into it, they have recipients locally. if the organs does not get accepted locally, it will be offered nationally. And then if a team at Glasgow say, yes, there's somebody in Glasgow can benefit, the team will retrieve it and they will transfer the organs straight to Glasgow, and then somebody will receive it.
That's amazing. And that's, again, the benefits of our NHS, which is why we are so blessed to have an NHS where you can get a liver transplant on the NHS for free. And I always quote the liver transplant, the liver, because I find that it's a more complicated organ, as any organ would be. But if you can get a liver transplant on the NHS for free, then you should count yourself very, very lucky that we live in these times. We have Mr. Munir Ahmed, who has said, thank you, my brother. Very logical reply. I think one should look at it with an open mind and the benefits to human beings. So this was the gentleman that asked us a little bit about the religious perspective. Now, what I would like to ask is, what bars an individual from becoming an organ donor, unless they obviously opt out from the organ register? For what medical conditions bar an individual from becoming an organ donor?
I think that's, as I said, we don't need to think if somebody suffers from any chronic illness. Don't think about that, because as I said, end of the day, patients would have some kind of heart conditions, some kind of kidney problems, but they would be, the state of the kidneys are not that bad, and they will be a recipient who will benefit from that. And even they are, they have some blood-borne infections, which normally would say have a no, but as we said, the things have advanced a lot and everything get discussed. And what the team does, anybody who says is a potential donor, and how we also approach it, if we think there will be a potential donor, we look into it, but if there are reasons they cannot donate, we don't approach the family, because there's no point if they say yes and we cannot, because we feel very bad about it, that what we wish, we're looking into the wishes of the patient. If somebody is on the register, but there are factors which basically stopping the individual from donating, what we say, we do not want to have the discussion, because it's a very difficult time for the family, very difficult time for the next to kin, very difficult time the people around them. So we do not want to approach unless there is what we call a potential donor, and we ask the question. And this is the question, you can say yes or no. There's nobody's forcing anybody for anything, even though the law will change, but I cannot see. Everything will be coming out end of September. It will be all in the media. They will all be in the press. The all discussion going to start in from end of September now, and all the material will be available. But I cannot see, as I said, I'm not sitting in the government right now or say anything, but I would say nobody will force anybody that you have to donate. The question that we will ask, we then be asking to say opt out if you don't think so, but please think. Do not just make a random decision because you don't understand the system and just opt out. Just think before you even make that decision.
I think that's very important. I think also, and I'm not sure what you feel about this, but I think that it's important to look at the things that you can legitimately donate. And I feel quite sad about learning about this aspect that I'm going to tell you about, because I learnt about this after I've had my children. So, for example, the cord blood, for example, that has pure stem cells, can be used in a cord blood bank to be donated to people who suffer from cancer. And it's otherwise your placenta or the cord is just thrown away. Really, it's not kept. And that's one thing that I would have definitely have opted for, because it would have been no damage to me personally, and it would have set a precedent in terms of donation of something. So I've had 4 children, mashallah, and 4 placentas to me have been wasted in a way. It could have been of use, especially looking at my ethnicity and background, where we know that matching, especially from people of ethnic minorities, is far more difficult than, say, the Caucasian population. And there is a shortage of ethnic minorities donating, isn't there, Dr. Sharafat?
I think that what we have, as I said earlier, we have a specifically addressing this issue nationally, that there is a significant amount of Asian, especially Muslim donors all over the country. We have, again, all the ethnic minority having problems of donation. And as the problem is not about the fact that, fine, we respect that, but the question is, we have a lot of my ethnic minority are waiting for organs. And this is the both end. And as I said earlier on, just think, this is the question I always think, if I need an organ, would I take it? If I take it, why can't I give it? And if I don't want to take it, fine. That is very honest, and then we cannot. And I think the word, this is always a debate, and we say donate. I think donation is it's a little bit a smaller word. I think you're helping somebody out. It's not about a charity. It's not about donating. It's literally and helping a whole individual, everybody around them, to help them to change everything around them. Somebody, as I know, whoever listening, a dialysis, it's a quite a hectic thing for an individual to come for dialysis every time to a hospital, get dialyzed, go back again, keep the numbers, make sure everything is fine, come back again. And if that individual suddenly have a transplant, have a kidney, life changes, everything away. They have a good quality of life. They can do like everybody do normally. And obviously the individual who is in the situation, who are getting dialysis, can only understand the situation.
Yes.
And that's the thing. And only somebody, we always try to get family members to our talks who are recipients of organs. We have somebody on the stall on 4th and 6th who are basically recipients of organs. We will try to have somebody who are donor families who will tell their experiences. And then as a talking to the families, they just said they feel good about it, that their loved ones have helped somebody out. It's a difficult decision. As I said, it's your choice, it's your family choice, it's your religion, everything. But just think. The whole idea is, please think before make any decisions.
Yeah, I think that's so well put as well, and I think it's so effective that you have those people who have actually received organs too. And these talks that you're going to give, or the stalls that are going to be there on the 4th and on the 6th of September, will obviously highlight the information. Before 2020, do you have to still sign up to the organ transplant register, or?
It'll happen. So once we get an opt out, like Wales, that everybody is a potential donor, unless you opt out. So if you're not opt out, you are a potential donor, and it will be considered that you are on the register. So you not opt out, that means you are in favor of donation.
Okay, well that makes sense. So we have Wales and England. Is the same law applicable in Scotland?
I think it's England. Again, I'm not very clear what the Scotland will do. I have to check before I make any comment.
No, that's fine.
So Wales definitely is the same, and then we were following that in next year.
Okay, so it seems that we've spoken about so much in terms of the whole aspect of organ transplantation, how it can save people's lives. And in fact, I can remember watching such a heartwarming television program. I can't quote the channel that it was on, but it definitely showed the journey of those patients that were in patient hospital habitants, patients who were waiting for organ transplants. And sometimes you could see, and I can remember that there was the story of a gentleman who had been waiting for a liver transplant, to be told after every so often that they'd found a match, and then to be told that actually it had been given to somebody else who had met with an accident and was in dire need of it as an emergency in order to save their lives. So it was a younger person who was healthy otherwise and could have taken that. And just to see the look in that patient's eyes, that he had so much hope, and then just the sadness. But he still had to remain within hospital because he was a victim of this chronic illness that brought his health down to such an extent that had he gone home, it would prove detrimental to him. So having a look at that journey made me, as a human being, I must say, think that actually if there was anything I could do for this man, it would be to donate. And it's sad because as soon as the program finished, they said right at the end that he had passed away because they couldn't then find a subsequent match.
Yeah.
So definitely something to think about. Is there any other information you would like to give our listeners?
I think all I want to is just to let's start people thinking. Information is so much out there that I can stay all day and talk about it. There's so much material out there. There's so much data. There's so much things that you can talk about, and we do. But the reason I would say, just in a nutshell, just think about it. Let's talk about it. I think this is the topic nobody wants to talk about it, and this is the way the flaw. Even the religious individuals, we have the discussion. I think it's nothing wrong. I think maybe is one of the complicated issue, even from the scholar's point of view. Maybe they want to understand it, and there's a difference of opinion. But regardless is you say yes or no, just talk first. Whichever it goes, fine. But once we start discussing, there will be some outcome.
Yeah, I think so. And I think I completely agree with you. Now we have comments by Mr. Munir Ahmed. A brilliant show. Wish this show could be broadcasted on live TV channel, mashallah. So we're affecting people, aren't we? And I know for a fact that Mr. Ahmed doesn't live within Peterborough. He lives in England, in the north of England. So it's good to have that listenership and see that Salam Radio extends so wide. And if it's affecting people in this manner, in a positive way, this is exactly what we want, don't we?
Exactly.
So, alhamdulillah, this has been a wonderful show. Dr. Sharafat, will you be on the stalls all day or...?
Yes, so I made sure because of my clinical commitment, but on the 4th I will be there almost in the atrium in the Peterborough City Hospital. On the stall we have other specialist nurses, we got other non-clinical individuals who are highly involved in schools informing about organ donation. They will be there, so there will be a lot of team there talking. Come and see us, talk to us. And there are a lot of leaflets and information. And then we will be on Serpentine, I think from around 8 to 9 o'clock in the morning in Serpentine Shopping Centre. Please come and see us there. I think I'll be there for a few hours in the morning, then I'll come back. So, but there's so many of us. It's not only me, we got a big team, and everybody will be there with a lot of information, and they can talk about it.
Well, fantastic work, and I must commend you and congratulate you on the wonderful work you do in the NHS to look after our patients. So thank you very much on behalf of Salam Radio and behalf of our listenership on this wonderful show that you've given and given the options to at least think about organ transplantation. Dr. Sharafat, thank you very much for your time, and I'm sure we will see you sometime in the future as well.
Definitely. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
So that was Dr. Mohammed Asfar Sharafat. And just before we go, we have Healing Minds workshop series, Grow to Glow, and nurturing and empowering your body, mind and soul for optimum well-being, emotional health and fulfilling relationships at the Bull Hotel, Westgate. Tickets are £30 and booking is on a website. It's on the Salam Radio website on the 6th of October from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. What an absolutely wonderful show we have had today. And do you know, this is exactly what we do here in Salam Radio with our team of wonderful presenters and the management behind it, that they have made this community radio station so successful. And we would like you to remain with us and join us, hopefully, inshallah, next week, where we will have another guest on to talk a little bit more about community health related issues, more so community health related issues, with your very own Dr. Shabina Asad Qayyum on the Body, Health and Mind Show. Don't forget to tune in next week with myself. I bid you all Assalamu alaikum.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
It doesn't take